Now for more on that bombshell that came out of a Senate committee yesterday about the size of the salary paid to Australia Post CEO. It was revealed that Ahmed Fahour earns more than $5 million, or 10 times the Prime Minister's salary.
Senator James Paterson is the chair of that committee that released the information. He joins us now. Senator Paterson, good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Australia Post has argued very strongly that it's against the public interest for Ahmed Fahour's salary to be released. Why do you argue it is in the public interest?
Well, on the committee we have Labor members, Liberal members and Greens members, and no one agreed with Australia Post's argument that it was against the public interest to reveal this information. Senate estimates is a key public accountability mechanism for government departments and agencies, and that includes government business enterprises like Australia Post, which are entirely owned by taxpayers. I'm not here to quibble about what Ahmed Fahour is paid, but I think it's absolutely appropriate that taxpayers have an opportunity to scrutinise that.
What do you say to the other argument made by Australia Post, again quite vigorously, that this would subject people like Ahmed Fahour to unwanted media scrutiny?
Well, I guess there's two things to say. One is Australia Post used to publish this information in their annual report, so clearly it wasn't an issue then, and I can't see why it would be an issue now. But secondly, a lot of other organisations, the NBN is an example, a very similar example that publishes this information, and listed companies in Australia are required by law to publish it. So I don't see why a publicly owned entity like Australia Post should have less disclosure obligations than a private company.
The other argument put up is that, according to Australia Post, it would do to brand damage. It would cause brand damage to Australia Post, but how could that be the case? It's a government business enterprise.
Well, I find that very difficult to believe as well, and Australia Post also asked the Senate committee to give them a week in order to prepare their response to any media inquiries, and we thought that was inappropriate, and it's actually not an option for the Senate committee. All evidence at Senate estimates has to be made in public, so as soon as we elected to receive this information and to make it public, there was no option but for us to publish it immediately.
As with most CEOs, the salaries are set by market conditions prevailing at the time. So what do you make of this $5.6 million package that includes, I think it's a $4 million salary plus the annual bonus that Ahmed Fahour received?
Well, it's an extremely generous salary package, and it makes him the highest paid public servant effectively in Australia, even more than the NBN CEO who received about $3.6 million last financial year. It is a matter for the Australia Post Board and their remuneration committee, and I do trust them to make those decisions, but it's not appropriate to try and shield those decisions from public scrutiny. It is appropriate that taxpayers are able to scrutinise decisions that they make.
It's a big, sprawling organisation. Doesn't Ahmed Fahour deserve to be properly compensated?
He does, he certainly does, and I don't think anyone would argue he shouldn't receive anything other than a very generous package for managing a very big and difficult organisation, and others will have views about whether he's done that successfully or not. But the key issue here is that Australia Post tried to conceal this information from the public, and that is not appropriate.
You have strong views about Australia Post. Is there any appetite within the government, James Paterson, for privatising the body?
Yes, well, I'm personally on the record in the past as in favour of privatisation. It's something that's happened in the United Kingdom that's been quite successful. I'm certainly open to it because I believe that it would make Australia Post more efficient and deliver a better service. And I also think it would be an opportunity for the government to pay down some of the debt that we've accrued. So I'm open to it, but it's not a plan of the government at this stage.
So there's no will or appetite there as far as you can see?
As far as I can tell, I don't think it's on the government's agenda.
OK, James Paterson, Liberal Senator, thank you very much for joining Breakfast this morning.
Thank you for having me.